Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
You were like not
Yeah, no.
consistent, but that's all right. It's all right.
It's all good. It's all
Uh,
good.
so I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but everybody now should have seen Project Hail Mary, right?
We didn't talk about that last week.
Did
We
we?
did see it.
I remember we saw
We
it. I don't remember if we
we did
talked
see
about
it.
it.
Yes, and it was good. No, I think I did. Well, I remember saying to you, or maybe I said it to somebody else. Like, it is a great adaptation, so long as you didn't want any of the science stuff in it.
Yes. It dropped a lot of the science. I mean, you had to for the book or for the movie. I know you don't have to, but
Had to?
you
You had
you
to?
did to make it work for
I yeah.
the audience, a large audience. I'll say it that way.
I don't disagree with you, but I mean, there's a reason why I read books. So
Yeah,
anyway, but that's okay. That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Movies are also fun sometimes.
Yes, yes.
Um,
It was fun. And did you? Because I think we talked about. Did you see Hoppers?
no, I did
Okay,
not
you
see
haven't seen that
Hoppers.
one. Okay.
It's not like we didn't have a 3-day weekend. I could have done something, but no, I,
Uh,
what did, oh, I remember one thing we did on Friday was, because when we were traveling, I was trying to sign my wife up for global entry because, I mean, we were sitting in the airport, blah, blah, blah.
right.
And then, she gets the whole pre-approval mail. And I swear the email said, you can schedule an appointment or you can come, or you could do it on return or on departure, or you can, stop by the global entry enrollment center. And I figured, like, okay, I mean, that's kind of what I did years ago. I think I was in Vegas I sat in the will call line or on standby line for a few hours and eventually did my interview, and that was fine. Anyway, we wound up going and waiting for a while, and until the lady was like, yeah, we don't do walk-ins.
Oh,
And we were like, but the email, she's like, no, we don't do walk-ins. We're like, um, okay. She's like, you have to schedule an appointment. I'm like, okay. And I mean, ironically, we literally had just been through landing and departure, I guess. But we were burnt, and when we were going through customs, we were hoofing it. So we did not have time to. Anyway, net. We will have to be signing up for an appointment,
okay.
and you cannot sign up for an appointment on the website because they are all booked.
Oh,
So I assume it's kind of like the National Park Service where like they open up a day and then they all go away, and then they open up a day and they all go away. I don't know. Or maybe just the next time we go on a trip. Anyway, we'll see. Anyway, that was Friday, but I spent a bunch of time outside this weekend,
okay.
which was good. It was very good. Um, Being bad and spraying chemicals was a lot of it, but my mason bees are doing awesome.
Okay.
And my final bee colony that I was excited about, and I went out to feed and put in the first spring treatment, mite treatment, is dead. So I am 0 for 5. They were all dead. And I don't know when it happened, because I think the last time I went out and walked by it was, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But they were alive at that point. Anyway, super disappointed.
Like dead or swarm? Did they leave or could you tell?
The last time I was out there, it was very active.
Mm-hmm.
And there were not a lot of dead bees in the colony when I went out there this weekend. So that math in my head means that either they swarmed and or absconded is what they call it when they don't divide and swarm, but they just all of them leave, or all that activity I was seeing a few weeks ago was actually robbers from other colonies. Because it's not like, I mean, the weather wasn't good enough that I actually did a hive inspection and got in and looked for brood, and I didn't see any brood in that hive. So So I don't know,
So
really, at the end of the day.
more nukes
I
on the
bought
way.
3 more nukes. So this is a definition of insanity. We do not add up the amount of money John has spent on nukes. But I'm going to try 2 different things this
Okay.
year from last year, and we'll see if that happens. I may be the worst beekeeper. I'm certainly the worst beekeeper among the 2 of us, but I was so disappointed when this weekend because I kind of I got in my bee suit and I got all my bee tools and I'm like I got the pollen patty and I'm like and the what do they call it, Apple Life Bar is the mite treatment that I was going to use, and I go trotting out there and I'm like where's the
Where are
bees?
my bees?
Where's the bees? So instead of
Mm.
a fun little afternoon of I'm going to go do something fun, I instead had to sort of tear apart all the dead hives and be very sad. So, but this is another year, and the nukes will be here around May 1st. So I've got 3 more weeks. And to console myself, I bought a third nuke after this weekend because I had bought 2 before, thinking that I had one alive. So anyway, I'll keep you updated.
Okay.
No honey this year, though, almost guaranteed,
Bummer.
which is really sad because the neighbor has put up a field of clover.
Oh.
Like, so maybe the bees will like go crazy on it, and maybe, but I'm like looking at the clover, going, "Don't bloom, don't bloom, don't bloom." I don't really know when it looks like crimson clover to me. I don't really remember when crimson clover blooms, but
Okay.
it honestly looks like it's going to start blooming very soon, and I don't think it'll wait 3 weeks. Anyway, I'm looking out at my flowers and the trees and seeing bees on them, and normally this time of year I'm like, yeah, you're my girls. They like gather that nectar and grow strong. And now I'm like, you're some other person's bees. Who are you and where are you from? Anyway, it's
Okay.
sadness.
Yeah.
All right, how about you? I didn't even.
Oh, I think everything I spent a lot of time digging through and still on my little AI coding adventure. I updated the Mostly Security website. I've been just kind of playing around with different AI tools for doing different things. And then staring at all the cool stuff coming back from the moon, which is your follow up.
Ooh,
So,
yeah, I did. I threw that in follow up, but I looked at some pictures or maybe it was a couple days ago.
yeah.
But I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, with everything else kind of going on around the world. This has been a nice little bright spot of scientific entertainment. I've enjoyed it.
I concur. All right, well, let's transition into that follow up. So much cool stuff. Seems like you've been paying more attention than I have.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a whole ton of cool stuff. I especially liked, I watched a lot of the videos as it went around the moon. So, like, I had the NASA feed on while I was doing other things so that if I heard something cool, and you might have seen it, I'm sure it's out because we mentioned Hail Mary, they had mentioned something, and Houston ground control said, "Amaze, amaze, amaze." And I just thought,
I read that, but I didn't hear it.
yes,
That would have been awesome to hear.
It was very cute. And the thing that I didn't realize was, like, they kept calling out impact flashes which is
as they were transiting the dark side.
Yeah, as they're going around the dark side. So we've now seen parts of the moon that we've never seen before, which is really kind of cool.
Isn't that awesome?
And yeah, and they were. I love the NASA feed because they would explain, we can hear them, but they can't hear us yet because of just how everything works. So you were still hearing as they started to disappear around. The ground was saying that, all right, they're now out of our radio reach. They can't hear us, but we can still hear them for some period of time. I don't know how that math actually worked, And then they disappeared for their 40 minutes and then came around the other side and picked up the conversation again. And that was really cool. And there were some pretty cool moments that they had. There was also a part where they had a conversation with the folks in the International Space Station. And so they chatted back and forth, about what was funny is they were talking about what they were eating was I thought was funny, because it's all dehydrated and you squirt water in it. And then
I'm having peach cobbler.
Yes.
Air quotes.
So great fun. I really did enjoy it. And I think I don't know. It'll be cool, because the other thing is that I think for the most part we think of the moon as basically a black and white photo, right? And some of the photos and stuff that they've got, you can actually see colors in the lunar surface now, like these greenish hues.
From minerals?
Yeah.
I read that, but I don't know why.
But anyways, it was all very super cool, because they had better cameras this time when they went around and took pictures up close.
A little bit.
Better cameras than they had 50 years ago.
Oh.
I look forward to kind of what NASA does over the next couple of years. And
I am super excited for somebody actually like getting out and setting foot on the moon again.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm down for that.
Yeah. 50 years in the making. So.
Yes. So, okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Very cool. It's a good idea to throw the, video up separately. I have not been doing that, but maybe. When did they land? It's not very long.
No, I'd have to check. They land April 10th, so 2 days at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So a little under 2 days.
So by the time we actually release this podcast, they might be down.
And so some of the other things they said is in their testing, they're going to actually approach and hit the Earth's atmosphere and start, burning up to slow down at a much faster speed than anything has ever re-entered orbit before. And they actually had to I was reading something about the tiles that are on the bottom, the heat shields that are at the bottom are very thick and different than before. These actually burn off. So it's like a log. It burns down and then that matter, vents off into space.
Interesting.
And so that hopefully, so that there's going to be 10 minutes where they're basically on
fire.
Plasma fire as they enter before they get through into the atmosphere, and then the parachutes pop out and they land in the ocean. So anyways, lots of stuff to read about.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Super exciting. All right, well, that was kind of our fun follow-up. How about a topic tonight? What'd you bring?
Okay, so this is more, since I've been spending a lot of time playing around with the agents, and I know we didn't mention it, but
I was super disappointed in Anthropic this past weekend. Yes,
they killed your OpenClaw. They killed your AI agent.
They killed my agent. I mean, I gave him a different model, but it is not as good.
Yeah. So, I think if you think back when AI really started to take off was a couple of years ago, right? 2024 roughly. And most of AI was you ask it a question and it does something for you. And it makes an image, it writes a paragraph, it changes, it was kind of this almost a read-only interaction. Like it would give you something, but now
that's why the OpenClaw moniker was the AI that does stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. That's where the AI agents now are coming into place in, 2026 now, is now you are basically handing the AI agents the ability to do destructive things, potentially.
And there have been examples.
Yeah. And so, this is now the security concern, right? We used to worry about, think of it as SQL injection, right? That was the early days of, hey, you had a website and you had to backed by a database and you had customer data in there, and some hacker would come along and with a carefully crafted piece of a URL, they would run some SQL injection and steal stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now there's less of that, because now all the attacker has to do is have a carefully hidden instruction in an email that shows up in your inbox on your machine, and then your agent picks up something it shouldn't have and starts doing whatever, and you don't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of these agents now are running 24/7, like while you're asleep. That's the other advantage to them is,
I was going to say,
while you're asleep.
Plus isn't, it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, they do a whole bunch of stuff. And so you can kind of think of, hey, you know who's going to start exploiting the fact that, hey, these people are probably asleep now? You know, the attackers are going to go, hey, let's just start going for agents on this type of schedule when someone's not around to watch for the window to pop up and say, hey, something's going on. And then I think you can get to the point where now if you have multiple agents, like we've seen I can't remember the word, where an attack starts and then moves laterally. Lateral movement.
Propagation. Lateral. Okay.
Across, hey, you exploit this thing that was relatively easy, and then you laterally move to where you really want to get to. You can start thinking about agents. Hey, maybe you start talking to a customer service agent and then figure out how to make that customer service agent transfer you to the billing agent or the financial agent or something along those lines. So now you've got lateral movement potentially across these agents. And the attackers don't need to talk to the AIs anymore. They just need to get a poisoned instruction somewhere that you stumble across in a PDF, in an email, in a website. The agent will read that file because you asked it to do whatever you want, and it could have that carefully crafted command. So it's going to be interesting, because I think the article that I'm quoting here mentions that 90% of developers now are using AI agents. I am in that 90%.
I am in that 90%, if you can still call me a developer, but I guess.
You're director of development.
Yeah, or something like that.
That's really what I am now, is I'm not really a developer. I just kind of direct development in directions I want.
Honestly, it's a lot more QA. It's more
it
QA.
Is.
Nope. And architecture. It's like this you're straddling the architecture and QA of nope, that's not what I did, or that's not what I said, or what I meant.
Yeah.
Might have been what I said. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting, I'll say year.
Yeah. As big companies kind of figure out how to protect themselves against these new kinds of threats, but no one knows how they're really going to work yet. So I think we have ideas about how they might, sort of but yeah.
Promise of efficiency is so insane that the seatbelts are unbuckled, and
for now. For now. So anyways, this was just a pretty deep article about how AI agents are really making the attack surface of companies. It's becoming very dangerous. Not that it hasn't been in the past, but they are continuing to proliferate down the proverbial business stack, and it'll just get worse before it gets better. I think we need a Web4 is going great.com website or something.
Just so long as it's only in Markdown.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's what I brought for today.
All right. Okay, thanks. That's a good one. Well, I kind of brought two, and one's kind of a classic topic, and the second one kind of is more AI. But the first was I'm always interested in like Mac vulnerabilities and threats. So this is a new ClickFix. So Apple added I think we talked about one of these sometime in the last, I'll say 6 months to a year, because I didn't look up when it did, but it was ClickFix is when you try and convince somebody to copy and paste something into the terminal and do something. And in fact, I remember one of the things we talked about was OpenAI. Like they got a bunch of ChatGPT and other AI logs to say, how do I fix this? It's to search rank really well. And then you were copying and pasting commands into terminal that were not helping you, fix your disk space issue or whatever it was that you had Googled. So this is a similar thing, but since Apple added some protections to terminal to try and make ClickFix attacks harder, the new vulnerability or the stealer is targeting the script editor, which basically uses the Apple script. What do you call the before the : the
scheme.
Protocol scheme?
Yeah.
Thank you. So instead of so this is Jamf observed this. They call it the Atomic Stealer or Amos delivery campaign, and it uses the Apple script URL scheme to launch script editor with pre-filled executable code. So the fake, sort of Apple themed pages pose as disk space cleanup guides. So, I mean, this is right. We got people Googling, how do I do this? And just basically trying to follow the commands. But it says that the embedded code supposedly executes an obfuscated curl command to Z shell chain in memory. So basically, hey, go grab something and pipe it to a shell. Eventually Amos is actually a malware as a service info stealer, with, theft targets, including your keychain data, cookies, passwords, autofill data, credit cards, crypto wallets, etc. So, and it does include persistence. So, it's not just a once and done. It'll hang around. I guess on the Windows world, I mean, maybe this is valid for the Mac as well. This is sort of a live off the land attack, right? You're abusing a trusted, privileged in some extent, but trusted local executables that are provided by Apple in order to do something that's, as designed, but abusing it. Attackers don't need novel 0 days if they can leverage system provided tools and infrastructure, which is, exactly what they're doing here. So, one of the things as security is getting tighter at the OS level, at the provider level, on all of these systems, the attackers have moved up the stack. They leverage, scripting tools and OS provided binaries in many, many cases on both Windows and Macs. So I thought this was interesting. I'll drop the bleeping computer link in here. I guess it goes without saying, you should never, he says, having done it himself, but I know what I'm doing. Copy and paste a terminal command off of, a web page. And I will tell you, Claude earlier today, Claude was like, do you want me to run this command? And it started with sudo. And I was like, no, I don't want you to run that command. What are you doing to me? And when was that was the first time that I had caught Claude Code trying to run the sudo command on me. I was like, no. What command do you want to run? Anyway, a web page should never open up script editor, terminal, or another automation flow. No.
Yep.
So.
All right.
Anyway, that's topic one.
And the second one is why you're sad.
The topic, well, sort of. I mean,
sorry. The company. Sorry.
Yeah, so the second one is Anthropic made a big announcement yesterday of consortium, I guess you'd say, or companies that are getting early access to their next generation frontier model,
Right.
Mythos, that leaked actually a few weeks ago, right? The presence of Mythos leaked a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Man, I was Googling earlier today, and maybe my Google foo was weak. I didn't find like the technical detail I wanted out of this. And I saw some Reddit posts that I was like, I just don't want to quote Reddit. I'm really sorry. I don't know who was pasting on that, but like, give me some other sources. But supposedly Mythos is going to be insanely good. And I mean, honestly, having been kind of using a lot of Opus, let's say, for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, I really like Opus. Opus was awesome. I'm trying to picture how much better Mythos is going to be, and I'm like, wow, that's going to be incredible, possibly. But so sorry, what is this Glasswing? The Project Glasswing. So the quote from Anthropic's press release or webpage is that, end quote, Mythos Preview has already found thousands of high severity vulnerabilities, including some in every major operating system and web browser. Given the rate of AI progress, it will not be long before such capabilities proliferate, potentially beyond actors who are committed to deploying them safely. The fallout for economies, public safety, and national security could be severe. Project Glasswing is an urgent attempt to put these capabilities to work for defensive purposes. They're basically giving us, some companies early access to Mythos Preview specifically to try and, find vulnerabilities in especially open source, but also important closed source software before they release this model on the world.
Right. Brilliant
Marketing, and hopefully will be interesting to see like what comes of it. AWS, Apple, Broadcom, Cisco, CrowdStrike, Google, JPMC, Linux Foundation, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Palo Alto, etc. Like there's some big names, a lot of enterprise security in there, of course. And it's not really clear what the consumer angle would wind up being on this per se, but the whispers of Mythos make me I want to get my hands on it. So
yeah,
it's going to be fun. But so anyway, so this announcement came out yesterday. Both AWS and GCP have it available in Vertex and in Bedrock. If you're on the allow list, and both of them have document open pages. So I'm sure that it will be more and more available. But that was the big announcement yesterday.
Yeah, crazy.
I read on Reddit, and this is where I is it true that Mythos cost $10 billion to train, and that it is a 10 trillion token model? I think that's what it was.
Are there 10 trillion words in all the books ever written? I don't know.
A token is not necessarily a word.
I know.
But yeah.
Scale.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? It's pretty crazy.
All right.
Pretty crazy. All right. Hit me with something fun.
Good times. Only more good times in the future. So we've been talking a lot about the moon and
okay.
The International Space Station. I did enjoy that little conversation between the two space folks. Mars, still a thing.
Mars is still a thing.
Yes. NASA's Curiosity rover stumbled across the first definitive physical evidence of an ancient Martian sandstorm. Right, so Mars's atmosphere is so thin, it's hard. It doesn't really pick up dust and stuff and blow it around.
I think Matt Damon has something else to say about that.
Yeah, Yeah, there was a movie by the same author of the Hail Mary. Anyways,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Anyway,
what's funny about this is they believe they've seen this sandstorm that happened over 3 billion years ago. So it happened a long time ago.
what?
And the scientists weren't even looking for a sandstorm. They were out looking at something else. They noticed something weird in the rover pictures in the panorama, and they decided to turn it around and take high res photos. And that's when they found these air quote crinkly rock layers. And so, as the lead scientist,
What?
Stephen Banham, puts perfectly, it's amazing to think that on some random afternoon billions of years ago, a massive sandstorm rolled into the Gale crater, moved a bunch of sand, and then just stopped, leaving the evidence behind for the robot to find in 2026. So they aren't just any ripples
What?
in the rock. They are called supercritical climbing wind ripples, and that's in quotes here. They
Okay.
only form when the wind is sustained and moving massive amounts of sand very quickly. They're very rare on Earth. Apparently, you can see them in Zion National Park in southern Utah, but they've
Huh.
never been seen on Mars until now. And today, Mars has a wispy atmosphere. It says it's 200 times thinner than Earth's, so it's so thin that basically it can't move grains of sand around like this. And
Interesting.
finding those ripples proves that ancient Mars had a much denser Earth like atmosphere, thick enough to host powerful sand-blasting storms.
How
So
cool is that?
there you go. Sand-blasting storms 3 billion years ago. And now they're on the hunt for fossilized raindrops. So that's what's
Fossilized
next.
raindrops.
That's what's next. That's my something fun. Mars is still a thing.
I agree.
All right.
I agree. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm here for the fossilized raindrops. I'm good for that. Okay. I admit that in order to understand what they were trying to no, in order to attempt to understand what this something fun is, I had to ask Gemini a few additional questions. I'm not sure I completely get it, but the premise I understand, which is super cool. Because so this is a scientist map brains hidden wiring using RNA barcodes. Because one of the problems in trying to figure out how the brain, any brains, our brains, but they're specifically working with mice brains in this,
Mm-hmm.
are wired is like they pretty much have to like take thin slices and then try and figure out what's wiring up to what. Like specifically, like getting down to the which two neurons connect over a synapse. And I had to Google what's the difference between a neuron and a synapse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so what these researchers did is, and this is like I was trying to understand how they actually did this. They call their method connectome sequence. So it says instead of only tracing where neurons travel, it tries to identify direct synaptic pairings by tagging each neuron with an RNA barcode and then reading barcode pairs found together at synapses. So if it, I was trying to figure out like how and when do you initially tag the neurons? Because that seems like the hard part, but the goal is to basically be able to say, oh, you know, you're neuron 1 through neuron 10 billion, and actually build a connection map for an entire brain of what neurons are connected to what other neurons by measuring then, like, because essentially they can read what neurons are connected across a synapse. They can then build a computer model of, sorry, this is more than a computer model. They can read the physical connectivity and then use that to model how the brains are actually constructed. And then it says that if the end game is to see how wiring changes across development, disease, degeneration, they can then monitor how these change over time as well. So the weird thing for me, this is one of the other things I was like, because it said that like neurons travel, and the neurons don't exactly travel, but they evidently can grow their what did it call it? The axon terminal.
Okay.
Or the axon, which is actually what will wind up connecting to other neurons. So, like,
okay,
I think I understood about 32% of this, but I was like, "Ooh, that would be so cool."
31% more than me.
I love thinking of the brain and how the brain works and how, like, I don't know, can you be a brain in a jar in the future? I love science fiction books that are like that. Yes. Welcome to the Bobaverse.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Eric verse.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it would be cool.
It could be really cool. So it says, keep an eye on whether labs can reproduce the method robustly and whether it works well in disease models. If researchers can map early circuit changes in Alzheimer's, autism, or psychiatric disorders at scale, this could be very impactful.
Yes, that would be great.
Wouldn't that be cool? So I sent this link to my son, so I'll ask him to explain it to me at some point.
All right.
Anyway. All right, my friend.
Yeah.
It's late.
It is.
It's late.
It is. And I think I've got an early one tomorrow, so.
All right.
Always good to chat. We will talk to you.
Always good. Talk to you later.
Next time.
Thanks, Eric.
All right. Bye.
Bye.